So our next speaker, if you were here last year, you'll know it was our first year to have a guest speaker. So we had a man. If you were here, can I hear it for him? Did this man not change your life? And it made me, every time I complain, I still do, but every time I do, I think, why Scott wouldn't complain about this? But anyway, so this year I think we found somebody just as awesome. If you listen to WJTL, you will recognize her voice. All right then. I think she does a McDonald's commercial, because that's where I hear her at. Do you? She does. Is John here? Because I said, that's Lisa Landis. And he goes, you don't know her. I do. Her story has been in the newspaper. It has been on the news. She's stubbed her toe, pricked her finger. I don't know, some crazy thing she's going to talk about. So ladies, help me welcome Lisa Landis.
Thank you so much. It is truly a great honor to be here tonight. And kind of the weird thing is, last year this time, I didn't even know I would have a story to share in this kind of way. You know, I'm a radio person. We don't usually see you. We're more comfortable usually not seeing you. And I guess to start off with that radio thing, we'll just get this out of the way. I know for some of you who are JTL listeners, and if you've never met me before, or I've never met you at a live on location event, or if you're not on Facebook and never saw pictures, this might be a little unsettling because this is not what you pictured. And it happens to radio people all the time. As a matter of fact, this morning after the session, one lady came up to me and she said, I pictured you with really super short hair and really rosy cheeks. I'm like, really? I'll get people that'll say, oh, I picture like really straight, long, dark hair, kind of nerdy glasses and sweaters. And I'm thinking, that's that Amy Farrah Fowler character from Big Bang Theory, you know? And then I get no, I picture you with the little upturned nose and the tall blonde hair, and you're tall and have long blonde hair, and I'm thinking that's Barbie, you know? So people have told me too, they don't picture anything, they just picture a voice. So I don't know. So if you have to close your eyes tonight to listen to me talk, I will not be offended. So I thought too that I would start out just for fun, since I do the morning show with Fred and I do the kids cookie break. I don't mean to ruin this for you JTL listeners if you maybe would rather have that picture in your mind than what we really look like. But this is Fred. This is my boss and coworker, and he's amazing person to work with and for. And he has 8 kids, so you can pray for him. And then the next slide is more of the JTL staff. So many people that I work with who I could not have done it this summer, this crazy summer with this flesh-eating bacteria. So many of them stepped in to help. And just to keep things short, I'll just point out some of the on-air people because you might wonder what they look like. And that's radio friend Phil at the top. That was he and I on New Year's Eve. And then the bottom picture with the JTL signs in the back, Rick is on the far left, and he does news and production work, and he filled in for me. John Shirk is behind me. And then on the other side over here, Mindy with the cool hair and the blue shirt, she is actually here tonight, and she filled in for me too. And that's Christy right next to her, who does the afternoon drive. So again, they call themselves not to plug JTL, but they call themselves a family-friendly radio station, and they truly, truly are. He loved me through the storm. Have you ever had to love someone through a storm? Of course, it's so easy to love when the going's good and to be thankful and happy. But how do we handle life storms? Is God listening, we might ask? How do we remain hopeful? How do we find peace? How do we respond when we have that brush or rendezvous with death? And if we do survive it, we might ask, why are we still here? Well, those are some of the many questions that I asked myself after my personal storm. And I think next we'll go back to the day my personal storm started brewing. It was actually Sunday, June 23rd. And I was gearing up for what was to be my busiest week of the summer. And while we all like to think we're in control, at least I like to think I'm in control, spoiler alert, we're not in control, and God had other plans for me. So I returned home from this family picnic. This was taken exactly an hour before I got sick. And I don't know where the rest of everybody is, but that's me. My dad's behind me. There's my husband, John, and my sister's middle child, JJ, and my mom. My Uncle Dan's behind JJ and Aunt Sheila. And for those of you who play the Mennonite game, like I like to do sometimes, being a Landis, this was a Brendel picnic. My mom's mother was a Brendel. So I'm come back from this picnic. An hour later, I feel like I'm coming down with the flu. And I mean, it hit me hard. I'm on the sofa, like, I have the flu, this is crazy. I thought maybe I ate something bad at the picnic that was spoiled. I'm thinking, okay, what did I have with mayonnaise in it? So this continued until Tuesday. Now, by this point, about Monday night, I started limping. Now, I had messed my toe up. Memorial Day weekend, I was at my parents' and really messed my toe up, stubbed it on a lawn chair. It ripped off my toenail. And I was in a lot of pain, and I could not wear my regular shoes, and I need shoes that have a really good arch. So I was wearing really kind of crappy shoes. So I thought that's why I was limping. So my sister-in-law comes by Tuesday to check in on me, and she said, Lisa, we need to go to your family doctor. So we did, but again, my family doctor, I said I'm limping because of my bad shoes. The back of my leg was what hurt, but it wasn't really black and blue yet, maybe a little bit, but not much. So we thought I had the flu. So this continues until Wednesday. Now, I'm supposed to be going to the Creation Festival on Wednesday. And I was so excited this year because my son Alex was going to go along with me and help with the kids' games in the tent. And he was also going to be, there he is. He did make it to Creation, I did not, but he was going to be the official Larry the Cucumber mascot. So it was Wednesday night when my husband was taking him to the Kroll family's house, that's Jack's, and they were going to be performing at Creation. So they live near Ski Round Top, so he's taking them, far away from our house for them to take Alex to Creation. And all of a sudden, I'm in bed. It was like a light bulb went off, and I thought, this is not the flu. I feel like there's a poison inside my leg. And my leg I was in so much pain, it was screaming out, and I thought, I have to take a Benadryl, I have to call my sister and have her take him to the ER. So thankfully, she lives around the corner. By the time she got to my house, she finds me, I'm basically in a ball on the bottom of the steps. When I'd opened my eyes, I'm seeing black, and I'm seeing all these crazy colors. And what I didn't know is that I was going into toxic shock and that my organs were starting to fail me. Now, before she got there, I'm trying to crawl down the steps. I can't see. I'm thinking, where's my purse? I need my ID card for my health insurance. And then I'm going, oh my word, no, wait a minute. I'm in this t-shirt and shorts. I don't even think I have underwear on. I don't have my bra on. And all I'm thinking of is Richie Cunningham's mom from Happy Days saying, always wear clean underwear. And I'm thinking, I can't even find it to put it on. So she takes me to the hospital, thank goodness. And before we go any farther, I just wanted to read you what I read that morning I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, Jesus Calling. It's a devotional by Sarah Young, and I do try to look at that each day with some other things that I do, readings that I do. And I do feel that there are so many days where I feel like it is God's voice speaking to me through her. And of course, I read this that morning having no idea what my day was going to be like, or my evening, and what the next month would be like. And now as I look back, I truly see that I feel like my Creator was with me from the beginning. And if you read it, see it there, stay calmly conscious of me today, no matter what. Remember that I go before you as well as with you into the day. Nothing takes me by surprise. I will not allow circumstances to overwhelm you so long as you look to me. I will help you cope with whatever the moment presents. Collaborating with me brings blessings that far outweigh your troubles. Awareness of my presence contains joy that can endure all eventualities. So again, it's a comfort today because I had no idea what was to come. Well, as I mentioned, my sister got me to the hospital. I was told the first miracle was that if I had gotten there 2 hours later, I would not be here today. I remember them taking my blood pressure, and the one nurse said to the other one, I don't think this is right. This is too low. But again, my organs were starting to fail. Second miracle, I learned that the ER doc that was on that night, he right away thought he knew what it was, because when he did his residency, the last day of his residency, a 60-year-old man came in with the same symptoms. The man did have necrotizing fasciitis, and he did not make it. But this ER doc knew because he saw it before, and he said to my husband, I think we need to get into surgery as soon as possible. So right there, to me, that was another miracle along the way where I see my Creator at work. I remained at LGH that Wednesday through Monday, July 1st. After 3 surgeries, they sent me to UPenn. And then what family and friends tell me was a very scary Monday. That was when they sent me. And I would stay at UPenn from July 1st through the 22nd and have 10 more surgeries. I think I better just quickly mention and explain what is necrotizing fasciitis. To be totally honest, I had never heard of it until that weekend I stubbed my toe. My mom was telling me about the girl from Georgia who was ziplining, and a couple other people in Georgia too had contracted this from a bacteria in water, and they lost limbs. And my mom is going on and on about this because they live at on a lake, and I stubbed my toe and she didn't want me getting in the water. And I said, I didn't get in the water. I listened to her, but I said, Mom, you've got to be kidding. What are the odds that we would get that? I mean, it's so rare. So the first lesson learned was that even when you're, as old as I am, Mom does know best, even when you're a woman in your 40s. So yeah, if you see there, it is very rare. LGH told me they see about 2 people with this a year. 1 out of 4 usually die, and the government estimates about 750 cases a year. You do need antibiotics, debridement, which would be why I had all the surgeries. They've got to keep going in and cleaning that out. You need fluids and drugs, and you also need, I did have some hyperbaric oxygen therapy that's when you get in that chamber and they give you oxygen. It's like you're scuba diving. And they did that to try and heal the bacteria. I was told, because some people have come up to me and they think they have it, so I just want to tell you, if you do feel like you have flu-like symptoms, for the most part, your immune system needs to be compromised. That's why oftentimes if someone is diabetic, they often immediately have to have a limb amputated because of their immune system and how it's compromised. I had a lot of stress in my life at that time, so we're thinking maybe that compromised it. We still don't know. You also have to have an entry point. We had those bug bites in the back of my leg. They think maybe I scratched them and it got in that way. But people have had it from surgery, a bruise, a cut. So it's strange. It's almost like everything needs to come together for that perfect storm. And for some reason, mine did. So I went from never having spent a single night in the hospital to spending almost an entire month. And it brought some funny moments as well as serious ones. I don't know if you've seen the NBC TV show Parenthood, or think of like Waltons, anything with a large family. That's the Blowers family. That's my married name. I was Lisa Landis on the radio before, and Blowers, that's not very Lancaster County. Landis works a little better, or the alliteration works. But the Blowers family, they're large, tribal, close, you might say suffocating in a good way. They want to help and they're amazing, and so is my family. And so they're all camped out in the lobby at the ICU and often scolded for being way too loud. My nephew JJ, my sister's middle child, loves his Down syndrome, so of course he didn't really understand the enormity of the situation. He just turned 13 last week, by the way. And so this monkey, he loves his stuffed monkey, so he brings one night and he realizes that my older nieces and nephews in their 20s and 30s were giving him lots of attention. So the next night he shows up with 40 monkeys and they're throwing them all over the lobby in the ICU. And again, the nurses yelled and said, be quiet, and you're being bad. So the next picture shows my dear grandma. She came to the lobby of the ICU and played her harmonica to entertain everyone. She will be 97 on April 2nd, and she's amazing. She brought fudge and chocolate that she made for the doctors and nurses. And my family says for them you felt like life was upside down. I mean, as parents, our kids are not supposed to go before us. As grandparents, our grandchildren aren't supposed to go before us. And here's my grandma, almost 97. I'm 50 years younger than she is, and they might lose me. So for them, that was a little surreal. Scary hospital stories. Of course, would I live? I really started to realize how serious the situation was. That Monday, there was a prayer vigil that was organized, and my my son's school, Dayspring, was just amazing. We had people coming from there. They were announcing it over the airwaves. People were coming from there. And all these people were praying, and, would I live? So that was huge. Would I get to keep my leg? My sister asked me a couple times, she said, did you ever think that when you woke up, you wouldn't have your leg? And I said, well, I guess in my naivete, I didn't think that way. I thought they were going to tell me before they took it, but that most likely would not have happened. Painful heparin shots that you would get, twice a day so you wouldn't clot. Those were nasty. Not able to get out of bed for almost a month. Relying on nurses and staff to help me with, the bedpan and change my sheets and, yes, wipe my bottom. And, I never had a child. So I was told this was like my birthing experience in the hospital when all modesty goes out the window. It was kind of strange, though, when, especially, at LGH, it didn't happen at UPenn, but at LGH, a nurse would be tending to me and, helping me with the bedpan, and they would say, oh, I listened to JTL. This is great. It's so great to meet you. That's kind of strange, especially when it was a male nurse and they're helping you with that. It was just kind of weird. But, it was comforting at LGH because I do know some people that work at the hospital, and even though hospitals can be scary, it was so comforting. My one friend, she does respiratory treatments, and she ended up giving me mine. A family member who works up on the psych ward, she came in to see, to say hi, and even though I was out of it, it was just great to know that there were JTL listeners there, and you just felt like, oh, they know who I am. Okay. I don't know that meant they were going to take any better care of me, but it was, that was just very, very helpful. With my state of mind. And also just, feeling like I was going out of my mind when I was at UPenn and at the end of my journey, and after, I was leading up to my 13th surgery, and just waking up and actually not quite realizing what was real and what wasn't real, and talking to a psychiatrist there. And, that's terrifying for someone who really thinks they're in control when I'm starting to question and doubt things, and drugs are just wreaking havoc on your mind. So speaking of the meds and the drugs, my nephew, Sammy, in this next picture with the green hat, I couldn't find another picture of him, but he is so happy and proud that he helped me keep track of my medicine. He brought in a bear to the hospital, and he said, Aunt Lisa, you need this bear. And actually, you can show, the next picture is at the hospital, and there I am holding his bear, and we called the bear Morphe because I would always lose my little morphine button, or whatever you call it. And so we pinned it to the bear, and he kept track of my medicine, so that was Morphe. So that picture, there were a lot of pictures taken from the hospital. My sister-in-law gave me these two. My sister has a lot of gross, disgusting pictures of my leg, which you don't want to see. Of course, Jean, you're a nurse. You'd love to see them. Yeah, I know. A lot of people want to see them, too, but not tonight. But they had just washed my hair. I mean, that was such a gift for my sister-in-law, my two nieces. They came to the hospital and washed my hair. And that was just learning to walk again, which was hard after, laying in the hospital bed for so long. This next picture always makes me smile because the other he in this whole story is my amazing husband, John. And yes, he, of course, my son helped too, but my husband, like no one else, helped me through this crazy mess. And this picture was actually taken by our friend Ralph. It was the first time we actually went out after I was sick, and Ralph came to visit. The only pictures that I have of my husband and me are the ones that Ralph takes, because I'm the picture taker in the family. So John was just amazing. And if you've gone through this with a loved one, I do think if it's maybe a spouse situation, it's so much harder on them, or the family member, or the parent, whoever's going through it. It's harder on the family members because, again, I was out of it for half the time, and I was not part of those critical, crucial decisions that had to be made, whether to send me to UPenn, whether to have another operation or not. And it was very scary. There was even doctors that some thought I shouldn't go, some thought I should go, and he's trying to sort this all out and was extremely overwhelmed. And then he told me, then he's trying to figure out life without me, because you do start to think, okay, I'm very close to losing her. What would that be like? And he tells me about, laying in bed at night and looking over next to him and thinking maybe she won't be there. He started, just planning what that would look like. I mean, you've got to understand, we're middle school sweethearts, and we'll be married 24 years in June. But this was the first time in our life that we really had to live out those vows that sickness and in health, the sickness part of that. So that too was a real challenge for him. I'll tell you, no matter what you think about Facebook and social networking, he's not the type of person to always, I don't think he ever posts, things that are personal that much in his life. It's more of a work thing, but this was huge in getting word out and getting people praying. It was just invaluable at this time. He talks to have many therapeutic sessions of taking the train home at night from Philly and, either sobbing or just getting all this out on a Facebook message to send because he had family members to connect with and so many other people, and it was just overwhelming again. And he also got reconnected with some college friends who knew something about this and the medical field and necrotizing fasciitis that, again, was just invaluable. So in this case, Facebook was wonderful. What got me through so many things? Faith. Several of my sister-in-laws said, wow, Lisa, you had such a great faith through all this. And my faith usually comes easy to me. I've grown up being taught, and I think coming to terms with and knowing that my God is in control of my story. So I didn't doubt that my life was in his hands. What was difficult was I really felt like I needed to give everything over to God. And I did that Monday, the day of the prayer vigil, and I remember people were praying, and I was by myself, of course, but no one was in the room. And I remember saying, God, I know I have to give this all over to you, but it's so hard for me to give you Alex. My son Alex is 15, he's adopted, and no matter what your experience, if you're adopted or have an adopted child, I do think that adopted kids, at least like my son Alex, there is that grieving that you start with. There's that hole there. He's adopted from Guatemala, so he has no history of his birth family. So he's lost that birth family, he's grieved that, and now he might lose me. So, I knew my husband and my friends and my family and my job there. I'd hope they'd miss me, but I knew that they could go on without me. But I finally just gave it over to him, and I did have the hope he would help, but that was extremely difficult. The prayers, I'm telling you, I am indebted to all of you who prayed. I've had people that told me they got up in the middle of the night, which is just overwhelming. My nephew Sammy said to me the other week, Aunt Lisa, you're so famous. And I said, what? I'm thinking, okay, I'm on the cookie break, I'm famous, right? To him and his friends, But he said, no, Aunt Lisa, when you were sick, you were very famous. You were in the paper and on TV, and everybody in the entire world was praying for you. So to him, they were, but sometimes I felt like that when I would hear stories of my parents' church in Florida had me on the prayer chain, and they didn't put me there, somebody else did. A college friend who said, oh my word, we're praying for you, and I didn't even realize you were sick, and here my church is praying for you. Michelle Cruz from the Rose Morning Show was at our station recently, and she said, Lisa, my mom lives in Philly, and she was asking me how you were doing, and I said, how'd you find out? Oh, we're praying for her at our church in Philly. And, people that were in other parts of the world, missionaries that often tune into JTL that now live, in the far reaches of the earth and, or the planet, and they too were praying. So I did kind of feel that way, and so, yeah, that was amazing. Friends, family who did not forget me. There were so many people, and I can't even mention them all, but one thing that this did make me think of is, when someone's sick, often we do think we need to take them food and help them out that way, and it's true, and and so many people brought me food, and it was amazing. A couple families more than they should have, it was wonderful. But I did think, boy, some of us don't have that gift of maybe cooking for someone. And I think that what we need to do is we need to look at our gifts, and there are so many ways that we can help people praying, of course, number one. But my sister-in-law washed my hair. My friend Tammy shaved my legs. But there's just so many ways that you can, use your gifts. Someone was mowing the lawn from my son's school. Somebody else was cleaning my house from my son's school, So again, so grateful for that. And cards. There were people like, I could think of Sandy and Barbara and people that were sending me cards every week, even when I was home and, convalescing. So that was just so helpful. And just the surgeons and the skilled physical therapists. And what has God taught me? I learned to let others take care of me. which is not so easy for me to do. I'm the independent older child. I do everything for myself. I don't like to rely on anyone. I would be horrible on Downton Abbey living upstairs, you know. I don't want people dressing me and feeding me, but, you know, but I'm really learning to be able to, you know, let others bless me just like maybe I want to bless them. Learning to live in the moment. And, you know, that was easier to do when I was in the hospital. You know, when you're there, you say, okay, what's going to happen today? I made these little goals. Today, I'm going to get rice and noodles from my sister because she's bringing me that, you know, she's coming on the train. And today, I'm going to learn to walk. Or one day, Grease was on television. I was so excited to watch Grease. You know, it was like all these stupid little goals. But just trying now today to live more in the moment. Learning to be thankful. Right away when this happened, my thoughts went back to Johnny Erickson Tada. I remember in the 70s when her book came out. I remember reading that as like a tween. I was maybe 12 or 13. And there's one thing, I have not read the book since, but there's one thing I'll never forget, and it's when she was talking about the things she missed after she became paralyzed. She missed putting on blue jeans, just what that feels like, taking a hot shower, walking on the beach with the sand between her toes. And you know, God spared my leg, and so I just try every day to be thankful just for little things like, you know, like that. We have hands, you know, I just try to be thankful. And it's funny, sometimes I actually think, oh God, maybe you let me keep my leg because kids' cookie breakers make me really scared to see me then. I don't know why that thought came to me, I don't know. And the others too, being hopeful, like, you know, saying, God, you take it all, and I'm hopeful, and being purposeful, praying for people when I say I'm going to pray for people. My mom and I both said we learned that from this whole situation. You really want to be purposeful. So where am I now? Doing so much better, feeling so much better. I still struggle with energy a lot. I'll hit a wall. I hit a wall the other night here at rehearsal, and then I just need to go to bed. But other than that, just, you know, I just feel so thankful to be here. I'm still trying to go to the gym and spinning classes and that kind of thing, because they told me I have to work my leg. So also, kind of funny thing, I've now realized I've become the flesh-eating bacteria lady, not just the cookie lady anymore. Because a guy at the gym was actually telling my husband a story, and he's like, did you read about that flesh-eating bacteria lady? Like, that's my wife, you know, so. Yes, so just learning to deal with being the flesh-eating bacteria lady. And just quickly, I know I'm running out of time here, but quickly, just some of the sayings and things that really spoke to me. Way up in the corner on the left-hand side, Psalm 66, 10 to 12, if you ever can look that up. Also, Psalm 71:20 is another great verse. Darlene Check, if you listen to JTL, she has that song, Victor's Crown. She's going through a cancer journey right now. We're playing that on the station, and that pretty much, she wrote that around that verse. And so other things that helped me, and the scars or tattoos with better stories, I just had to put that up there because I was in Amelia's one day after physical therapy and had my shorts on, and this big dude saw my scar on the one side. Like, I have a short scar here. The rest is like, if you would see my leg, it looks like a shark bit my leg off and they had to sew it back on, which I like to say I was surfing and that's what happened. But he saw like this side of my scar and he said, I bet my scar is bigger than your scar. And I turned around, I showed him the other side, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry. So that shut him up. So I already have my tattoo. I don't need one because I'd get a blood infection if I got one, I'm sure. and then the next slide is just two things that have really encouraged me. Again, that left-hand side, that prayer. I need to put that up on Facebook. But, you know, dear God, I woke up, I'm healthy, I'm alive, I thank you. I'm not going to complain. I try not to. And I'm grateful for all that you've done. And then I just think that right side too is powerful. Don't tell God how big your storm is, but tell the storm how big your God is, because he is huge. He is huge. And I continue on this road to restoration. Some of you might be on that road. And just going to wrap up here by saying, you know, I looked up that biblical meaning of restoration, and it says to return all things to their previous state, their pure state. Ancient Hebrew legal definition of restoration was to not only repay what was lost, but to make it better than before. Job received more than he ever had after his trials. And I just want to say that right now, I have just, so far since I came out of the hospital and as I continue to recover, I have just felt like Job in that way. I've felt that I have been receiving so many great blessings. And you know, it's been from you. It's been from my family and my friends and the kindness of my community. And isn't that what the Christian community is all about? You know, to let others bless you and also be there for others. So I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to share my story today. And Jean, you finally got me to Sisters in Christ. You know, it's not that I didn't want to come. It's just that every year I was out of town or I had something. So Jean said, Lisa, will you speak? And then you'll get there. And you guys do an amazing job. Thank you. Thank you for having me.